What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning into the Unfiltered Podcast. Me, Drew, aka Buckner. Uh, Buckner is my last name. A lot of my friends growing up through high school, in the military, it was pretty much a given. You were going to be going off of your last name. And to my recent coworkers, everybody just said Buckner. One of my former coworkers pointed that out to me the other day when we were speaking. He was like, "Oh, I heard you say Drew. I've always heard people just say Buckner, or actually, he might have just said Buckner. Can't remember." So, thank you for tuning into this podcast. It's number 3. So, I'm getting a lot better at this, I feel. So, as the more that I do, the more that I'll get better, and more that the show will get better. So I just kind of wanted to start off with the show, just kind of like talking about Instagram and what I feel, how what my place is going to be in Instagram. Some of my goals, which I will kind of go over here today, include I just want to just dominate social media, whether it's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, you name it. I really don't do Twitter too much. To me, Twitter kind of, it's more for celebrities, not necessarily Instagram. Instagram is pretty much my best vehicle. Instagram, this podcast, and Snapchat, and kind of third tier, Facebook. So, some things that I kind of, like I said, I wanted to go over was kind of where I feel like my place is going to be. Now, what I want to talk about Instagram is that a lot of people kind of do the exact same thing when it comes to, how they market themselves on Instagram. A lot of what everybody's trying to do is sell online training programs, which there's no knock against doing that. I feel like that's something that I'm not necessarily really too interested in doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that I won't do something like that somewhere in the future. It's just right now I really don't see the need for me to do so, if that makes really any type of sense. So a lot of everybody pretty much does the exact same thing. So what I feel is, in order to become great, you kind of have to study and copy the greats. But in order to make your own mark when it comes to this, you have to bring something new to the table that the previous great did not do, and that's how you either pass them in greatness or pretty much reach them when it comes to greatness. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do. One person that I really kind of look up to when it comes to Instagram is Mike Rashid. You're probably going to hear me name drop him a lot. He's pretty much the owner of I'm So Alpha, so anything with I'm So Alpha, that's him. So what I want to do is I kind of want to do what he's done. He's done fitness. He's done nutrition. He has a supplement company. He has a clothing line. He owns his own gym. So that's kind of like something that I want to do, but then kind of do what The Rock does as well. I want to do it on a global scale. And kind of bring something from the tech side into it as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking to do in order to kind of differentiate myself when it comes to what I'm trying to do on social media. So I understand that takes time. Nobody was getting 1 million followers, or if they were doing a podcast or video blogs, which are basically vlogs, nobody was getting 1 million views or anything like that, or 500,000 views, whatever, you name it. Nobody was doing that overnight. So what I'm looking to do is I'm looking forward to the journey. I want to basically progress up and kind of, like I said again, make my own mark. So it's not going to be overnight. It's going to be steady improvement. So that's what kind of, if anything, I can kind of share what I'm trying to do. It's a little bit of that. I can't give too much information away because I don't want somebody to take advantage of the idea that I have. I don't want to be one of those people like, oh, I thought of, how Uber does what Uber is doing, and then, so-and-so. I don't want to do that. I want to, keep it close to the vest, and if the opportunity arises where I can do it, then, I'll go ahead and do it. So this kind of is leading me into a segue. I kind of want to keep this podcast a little shorter than what I did last time. Reason why is because with the podcast, last one I did, I think was like 40 minutes, and this was kind of one like I did last minute, just because I wanted to talk about that, and then about the UFC on Fox and the Bellator fight card that went on. I know I talk a lot about mixed martial arts, but in sports, but I kind of stick to the way I look at it as in I like getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So, what I mean by that is I'm looking at it as in, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sticking to what I know right now. I guess stepping out of my comfort zone would be me doing the podcast and getting used to the sound of my own voice. I hate the sound of my own voice. So, that's kind of what I'm looking at doing right now is stepping out of my comfort zone. But at the same time, stepping into doing something what I know a lot about. And right now that's about mixed martial arts, football, and what's the other one? Not just sports in general. So I'm kind of sticking to that right now. So to kind of go into the UFC on Fox 22, I'm actually from Sacramento, so I'm watching this with somewhat of great interest, but at the same time, I'm looking at it as in I really wasn't too, what would you say, interested in how, the fights that they had put on there. If I was going to do a UFC on Fox card, I would be looking at, adding some different fights, especially since it's the first time we're having a UFC event at the new Golden One Center. So just looking at it right now, I'm scrolling to it, and I want to kind of go over the card a little bit. So let's go ahead and see exactly who's on there. I know the main event is going to feature Paige Van Zant and Watterson, and I'm trying kind of it's a weird fight to pick because I think it's pretty much a setup to try to get Paige Van Zant to the next level, to top contenders within the division. So that's going to remain. I don't know who I want to pick in this fight. I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and go with the emotional pick instead of the logical pick, just because I'm from Sacramento, so I'm going to go with Paige Van Zant winning that fight. Like I said, I don't know how it's going to go, but nonetheless, it's a setup fight for her to get to the next level within the division. And then the next fight right now, I really don't like either of the two people. But it's Sage Northcutt versus Mickey Gall. Now, who would I want to win out of this one? I'm going to go with Sage Northcutt. I think he's probably faced a little bit more tougher competition. Not necessarily, top tier competition, but enough for where he's at currently within the welterweight division. Mickey Gall last fought CM Punk. I went with emotion just because I'm a big WWE fan, and CM Punk is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So I kind of went with him, even though I didn't really logically think that he was going to win that fight. It kind of went the exact same way that I thought it was going to go. He was just going to try to take him down and avoid any type of a fluke win. And then the next one is Uriah Faber versus Brad Pickett. That one right there, I'm going with Faber. Again, it's an emotional pick. I think he'll probably sub Brad Pickett. I would say maybe by second round submission. But the interesting thing about Faber is Like, Faber's probably had one of the best careers and one of the most popular fighters in the lower rank. I mean, not lower rank, but the lower weight type of fighters before Conor McGregor came on scene. And I think my only critique for his career is that he didn't use enough of his wrestling, especially in the bigger fights. I feel that he had a distinct advantage with that and didn't necessarily use it. So that's really my only critique of his career. The next one is Alan Jabon versus Mike Perry. I think I'm going to go Jabon on that fight. Even though Perry's favorite, I think Jabon actually could catch him. And then, the other fights, a lot of them were prelim fights. I think Cole Miller is probably going to win that one. Cole Miller is actually one of my favorite fighters out there. He's a veteran. He's not necessarily really, his stand-up skills aren't necessarily there, but his submission, his ground game is phenomenal. So if I had to, like I said again, I'm going to go with Cole Miller in that fight. And then there's another Sacramento guy, Josh Emmett versus Scott Holtzman. I'm going to go with Emmett. I think Emmett can actually probably get him on a TKO. So that's my pick for that. And then I kind of wanted to end with the Bellator fights that happened today. I'm pretty sure they're going to be probably aired by the time this podcast rolls around. So hopefully nobody's looking at this and gets a spoiler. All right. The only fight that I was really interested in on that one, because I really don't watch Bellator a lot, I personally think UFC's number 1. I think World Series of Fighting is number 2. And then F1. And then I'd put Bellator actually at the 3rd. They're the second popular one stateside just because they're with Viacom. But the one that I was interested in was King Mo. I've actually got a little bit of type of relationship with King Mo. I actually was talking to him on Twitter, so we exchanged numbers, and I actually talked with him over the phone. He's a really, really cool guy. I actually was trying to go down and meet up with him in person. Where was it at? When he was training out at AKA with in Fresno, and I was trying to meet up with him. For some reason, things didn't connect out, and we were pretty much unable to link up. But cool guy. I guess he just won this fight right now based off of unanimous decision. My whole thing is that my only critique of his, and I even told him, was the simple fact that he doesn't utilize his wrestling, and he falls in love with boxing. And with MMA, if you fall in love with strictly boxing, those gloves are really light. I think they're like 4 ounces, or 4 or 8 ounce gloves. And what happens is that it doesn't take much skill to knock somebody out. If you're repeatedly knocking fools out, you got to have a skill at that. But if you're catching a fool just off of a random lucky haymaker, you can do that. And that's kind of how he got caught. And the losses that he's had is based off of that he got caught. It wasn't that the guy was really all that good. He just got caught. So he actually won this fight, like I said, off of a unanimous decision. Hopefully he can. I honestly think that his future, at least from Bellator, he'd probably be better being a heavyweight, to tell you the truth. And he could do it. And that's probably where I would suspect his future would be. Yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to fights. I guess I want to kind of talk a little bit about the Floyd Mayweather, Conor McGregor mini beef, which I think is stupid as shit. And this is the reason why. And I'm a Floyd Mayweather fan. For anybody, you could ask anybody, and I'm a Floyd Mayweather fan. He doesn't even run his own damn social media, so he's trying to act like he's, talking shit. And then the other thing is he's trying to friend Nate Diaz. Probably don't know who the fuck Nate Diaz is. And they're both just trying to chum it up and shit like that. And this is my only critique in boxing. People can say that they're multi-division weight champions, but those weights are separated by 5 pounds at most, right? So you could win 3 different divisions and basically only have to go up in weight 15 pounds. So say if somebody in the UFC were going to have to do that, they would have to jump, let's see, 145 to 155 is what, 10 pounds, and then 155 to 170 is what, 15 pounds. So say if you go from 145 to 170, that's what, 25 pounds, give or take, and that's a big difference. But you do that in boxing, you're facing, that's like Floyd Mayweather fighting at 150 and then going up and challenging Andre Ward for his belt. And even when Floyd Mayweather fought his heaviest opponent, it was Canelo Alvarez. He made Canelo come down to his weight class to where he would have the advantage and Canelo would have to do a weight cut. It's not like that in mixed martial arts. You can't go and challenge somebody and basically tell them that, hey, you know what, you got to come down and fight me. That's like Conor McGregor at 155 coming down and fighting Mighty Mouse. Like, why the fuck would he do that? So that's the dumbass thing about boxing, and I like boxing. My favorite boxer is Roy Jones Jr. And to me, he was one of the best ones, but I mean, he wasn't necessarily always the most technical. So that's my favorite fighter, and I think one fighter that definitely would have waxed Floyd Mayweather would have been Sugar Ray Leonard, and it wouldn't even been close. It wouldn't have been close, and he fought Murderer's Row. I mean, outside of older Pacquiao, which people again will might not like it, but I think Pacquiao was on the juice. He hadn't knocked anybody out since Ricky Hatton, and I think that was their common opponent that they both knocked out. I don't count what's his name? God, I can't think of his name, but I don't count him. It's when he basically headbutted Mayweather and he got knocked out. I'll have to search that up. But yeah, I don't count that one. But so their dual opponent that they both knocked out, Mayweather and Pacquiao, was Ricky Hatton. So I mean, like, I don't know. It's just dumbfounding that he wants to come and try to talk shit. And if you put Mayweather and McGregor in a boxing ring, of course Floyd's gonna be favorite. I don't think McGregor realistically win that fight. He'd have to get it on a fluke punch, but like I said, it only takes one. But so he has a chance in a boxing fight. It's not a very big chance, and I honestly would put that in probably the very, very low percentiles that he would actually win. But if you put Mayweather into a mixed martial arts octagon or whatever in a mixed martial arts fight, he absolutely has no chance. There's no chance where he could threaten it. He could get his head kicked off or his leg broke just from one kick. So I wish there was some way they could set up a fight to where they could use some of the rules if it's a kick or something like that, because then it gives each fighter enough of their discipline in order to like I said, have a chance. But like I said, I don't know. Like I said, it remains to be seen. But I just think it's funny, and I'm just waiting for McGregor to respond, because that's one thing that we know he does definitely better than Floyd Mayweather. He can actually talk shit. I know there's probably three or four different ways that I would attack Floyd Mayweather in a shit talking battle. I don't think he would be fast enough to respond, because he always that's one thing. When he talks shit, he does it over a social media thing or something like that. He doesn't do that shit in person. Very rarely. I think the only time he ever did that to somebody in person was Oscar De La Hoya, just because he knew Oscar, he had an image to maintain, so he couldn't necessarily go back the way that he wanted to go at him. So, I mean, the exception of that, he hadn't really talked shit to anybody's face. Actually, maybe Shane Mosley. But Shane Mosley was past his prime at that point, too. Even though in the public's eyes, they basically were saying that Shane Mosley didn't have a chance. And Shane Mosley was, kind of somewhat fucking up fools. And he basically stunned Floyd with that one punch that knocked him down. But other than that, I mean, like, I don't know. It just remains to be interesting to see kind of how this whole thing is going to play out. I don't see the fight happening at all, but never say never, and we'll have to see. If I had to bet my money, only reason I'm betting it on Conor McGregor is because if he fluke knocks Floyd Mayweather out, I would stand to make a killing off of that. That would be the only reason why I would actually bet on Conor McGregor. So yeah, and then another thing I want to talk about, I kind of briefly touched on it, is like I said again with this podcast, we're going to talk about random stuff. Definitely going to try to get some guests in here. That portion probably will be an audio / video podcast. I am working to get it on iTunes right now. They kind of have a procedure in order to do so. So I kind of have to go through that in order for me to be able to bring that to iTunes. But right now it's best for business for me to have it on YouTube. So one thing that I was talking about with a couple of people I posted on my Facebook, I think it was this, whoever posted this originally was looking at it from, it must have had to be a young person. It was talking about rappers and who's in the first tier, second tier, third tier, fourth tier. It's all bullshit. Rap today is not the same as it was years ago. It's always evolution in music, but so I don't have to really go in depth with it. My favorite rappers of all time is number 1 is Jay-Z. I would say number 2, Biggie. Number 3, Tupac. Number 4, LL Cool J. And then number 5 probably would have to be, not necessarily based on because he's a rapper, because every album that he does, which has his name on it as actually his album, is a classic, and that would be Dr. Dre. Actually, no, let me take LL out of that. My top 5 would be Jay-Z, Biggie, Pac, Ice Cube, and then Dr. Dre. Those are my top 5, just because they're literally the best of the best. Dre gets in there just because his album sonically and the simple fact that you can listen to it on repeat and don't have to skip a record. That's what gets him up in my top 5. So, I don't know. These kids nowadays, they were having, I don't even know who the fuck is, I'm going to click on iTunes real quick. I listened to some of the new stuff, but I'm going to go ahead and try to pull this up real quick. I couldn't even tell you who these people are. Let's go ahead and see real quick. Let's see. Schoolboy Q, I got one of his records. It's alright. Young Thug, never listened to any of his shit before. Kendrick Lamar's hot. Drake's probably the one leading the crew right now. At least, I guess if I had to say my top 5 in today's music, I would have to say Drake's in my number 1, based off that he puts a lot of good records out. I would say number 2, not a lot of people give him his credit, but Big Sean is number 2. I'd say J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, and then I think that's it. I was looking at it I got a song from Designer, but other than that, what the fuck has he put out? Panda, I saw that fool on the MTV Music Awards, and he couldn't even freestyle on the red carpet. He was like, and yeah. So I don't understand. I don't know. It's some interesting shit. Even French Montana, he's good as maybe he's a modern day version of maybe a Nate Dogg. That might be giving him too much credit, but his albums are kind of weak. Future's alright. I don't know. It's definitely not the same as it was, but with any type of music, there's always going to be a progression. Even though I think they're taking somewhat of a step back, it's interesting nonetheless. I don't really think any of these people that are coming up after Drake and Big Sean and all of them, and the people that I mentioned, Drake, Big Sean, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, I think all these other guys they're flashing all that shit, and I think they're gonna go broke. Because to me, I don't see how they have any longevity, pretty much in the game. I really can't see it. I can't. But Gucci Mane, he's got a new song out too, so I might have to go check that out. I saw the Locks; they just released one, so I might have to go get that. The Tribe Called Quest, that was a pretty good one too, and the Hamilton mixtape, that was phenomenal. Really, really, really good album. Really, really good. So yeah, definitely have those on rotation when I'm in the car, cruising to the gym or cruising to take care of some business. But yeah, it's definitely interesting nonetheless, and some portions of music. So all right, well, that was pretty much it. That was a kind of an impromptu podcast. Just trying to, like I said again, work on and develop the craft, and as I get better, bring you better content. And if you want me to cover something or request or anything like that, just put it in the comment sections. I'll take a look at it, and if it's viable that we can talk about it and it's interesting, I'll go ahead and do so. All right, thank you for your support. Peace.